Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. So it turns out that that American dream that we were all told was the standard that we should all be reaching towards. A lot of Americans, when I say Americans, I mean United States Americans, because South American and Central America are also America. But many Americans are starting to realize that that is no longer our dream. Sometimes it's starting to feel like a hamster wheel. And what we're noticing is that even more US Americans are choosing to move abroad and move to other countries. And I wanted to talk about that because I have recently made that decision to be one of those people in that number. And I've had a lot of people asking me if I was going to do videos on the experience. I do have a blog, but I had people ask me if I would do videos on the experience and talk about the preparation and why, I made this decision. And it's a very difficult decision to decide to leave everything that you have and move somewhere with you're basically starting over. But if you look at the numbers, there has been an uptick in millions of United States Americans who have decided to make that move to another country. And people are moving everywhere. They're moving to Asia, they're moving to Africa, they're moving to South America, and they all have different reasons for why they are doing it. But I wanted to go into some of the big reasons of why more people are starting to do it. Now, of course, we saw an uptick with the current political climate that we have within our country. And many people are just deciding, hey, I don't want to be around that. I don't want to have to deal with that. I just want to have to deal with peace at this time of my life. And that's totally fine. We all have the right to choose how we want to live our life. Because one thing that I've been seeing is a lot of people saying, oh, everyone who's leaving, they're cowards and they're choosing not to stay and fight and all of this. And it's just like, you have to realize some people's ancestors have been fighting their entire life. And this is the first generation who has the opportunity to get some type of rest in there. And in them choosing, or in us choosing to rest, we're choosing to not go against the resistance and choose our own path of how we want to show up. So we're not choosing to not be a part of the fight. We're choosing to show up differently in the fight, I guess you could say. And so, for example, I plan on becoming a traveling writer. I realized every time that I travel, I write so well. I love to learn about the cultures that we oftentimes don't hear about. And I want to write about those stories. I want to integrate them into that historian work, whether if it's through fictional work or non-fictional work, but allow those cultures to influence so that we don't lose those stories. And I've always been just so interested. I've never been interested in owning a home. I've never been interested in having the typical white picket fence life. I always wanted to be a wanderer, to be a traveler. That's why I've always loved the symbol of the butterfly because it represents me in a lot of ways. Now, that's not the only reason why I decided that this was the best way because, hey, many people, they have their home and they travel every month, right? But let's be real, financially, I'm not just rolling in the bank. Yes, I can afford to, pay my bills every month and things of that nature, but it would then become a waste of money to me to be paying rent in one space and then being gone 1 to 2 weeks every month in other places when I can just take that money that I was paying for having this place and use that to pay for my places every month on wherever I choose to travel to as a nomad. It makes sense to me. It made sense to be more efficient. And that's a big reason why many people are starting to do that because they're starting to find that, yes, it is inexpensive to live other places. And if you have the ability to do that, and I do want to get into how people are funding, but if you have the ability to do that, why not? Why not try why not try? Because the reality is that our financial economy is pretty interesting up and down. And instead of just being in that, I don't want to be in that hustle culture of always hustling and working to make a dollar. I want to be able to show up authentically who I am within my work, within my offerings, and allow that to make room. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are choosing to move for the reason of financial reasons. Honestly, the fact that you can be in Bali or Thailand and you can stay, your housing, you're not even just your housing expenses, all of your monthly expenses are less than $1,000, and you have housekeeping, and that includes your food and everything. Now, of course, we have visa restrictions and things of that nature that you have to adhere to, but there's ways to get long-term visas if you prepare for it and you identify where you want to be at. So for me, for example, I plan on traveling through Central South America, at least for the first year. That's how I plan on traveling and learning the different cultures, learning the certain spaces, because there are places that you can get citizenship by investing into in like real estate, things of that nature. So if you decide to want to buy, for example, in some countries in South America, you just have to invest $65,000, $60,000 to $70,000 into the country. So buy a home in that country, you're able to get some type of well, not ownership, but some type of residency in that country. And so there are ways around it. The fact that you can get mansions in other countries for that amount, it shows you how our economy here in the United States, um, although many people come here, of course, to make money because the dollar weighs heavier in other places, understandably so. That's why these places are less expensive for us to live in, because those who are native to that area is priced to their life. And so that's one of the big things that we have to make sure that we keep in mind as well too, is that we don't go in and gentrify their areas and be disrespectful to their cultures as we're coming into their space for our lives. And I know me personally, I'm very reflective and respectful towards that. Like, the goal is not to come in and change your cost of living or make your life more difficult because I'm here paying more for certain things and I'm driving up the cost of things, right? But the reality is that's what happens here in the United States as well. And a lot of people are getting tired. A lot of people are getting tired. So people aren't just leaving from the political aspect. They're leaving just in the sense of they want to experience and see a new world. They want to be places where the food is still real. We want to be places where we don't have this fear of violence and crime. And one thing people always say, oh, be safe, do this, do that. I've never felt unsafe in another space. And if I ever did, I used my personal street smarts, common sense, and intuition to avoid different situations from happening. And what I want us to understand is that we all have different tolerance levels. And in us having different tolerance levels, all of us can't handle the current atmosphere of what's going on. And that's why many of us have gone through different emotional problems, mental health problems, and things of that nature, because we're in environments that are not really conducive to who we are as a person. Even when I look at, I got my housing for my first month book from when I moved, and I was able to get literally a beachfront condo for a month that costs less than what I pay now. It's those types of things where it's like life is short. Life is short. And I'm seeing more people starting to do it. And it makes me think about, even with like certain greats who did it, who moved abroad and allowed themselves to learn. Like, I see this as a learning opportunity for me. Like, I plan on going to Spanish schools and things of that nature to just learn and to let this experience be something that grows me in a lot of ways. And so that's why I have my blog, My Check Baggage, where I'm going to be sharing my experiences of just rebirth, self love, travel, the aspect of just starting over and showing up, in that new sense of me. I've always wanted to do this. Um, but there's so many reasons why people are choosing to move, you know. And one thing I've come to find is that everyone who's done it, I've never met anyone who said they regret doing it. I've never met anyone who said they regret doing it. I actually recorded a video on this channel, and it's still in my drafts of my videos. I recorded it 2 years ago of when I said that I was moving, and I started the preparation at that time of just like, okay, let me get mentally ready. And you all know I had my niece and all of that. Um, but I always knew that I wanted to move or at least travel for some sense of time eventually, because that it gives me life. It changes my energy, and it's giving an opportunity to change our timelines, you know? And so a lot of people wonder, the first thing they say is like, well, what about your job? There are remote jobs. Then there are spaces within that country that, like, if you can get a job teaching English or something of that sort, like you can get a work permit, right? Or I always say, start finding ways to make money passively. I always say it's best to have more than one option just in case, so that you have that freedom if you need to have it. The fact that you could be making $1,500 a month in business income, which here in the United States, it's like you probably need to be living in like a small town in Alabama, Mississippi, something of that sort to be able to afford that. But you can live in another country and save money. It's a whole different timeline. Okay. And so that's why I've been real big in trying to help people find ways and learn ways to be serious about making their own income, or creating those different businesses that allow them to be in other spaces. Now, with me, also, like I said, I plan on being a travel writer. So I have my blog. I plan on working with the spaces where I'm at. Of course, I plan on working with, different hotels and things of that nature that I stay at, to help with offsetting certain costs and things of that nature. But there are people who, they start identifying and finding ways to be able to pay for it early on. As soon as you know that it's a potential of something that you may be interested in doing, I strongly recommend starting. I had to make sure my microphone was still on. I strongly recommend starting that process of making it happen. Okay. So that when that comes, you can, you know, now it has been difficult with the sense of, you all know I have a dog. And so preparing this move with a dog has been a little stressful, because I have to pay extra for the planes, for him to be able to get on the planes. And then there's certain housing places, and some places they don't want you to leave the animal in the home when you're not there, right? So if I'm going to be getting out and roaming and all of that jazz, so all places won't allow me to have a dog. And so navigating what this is going to look like for me, or seeing, it just hit me the other day. I was just like, ooh, maybe my mom can watch him or keep him, right? And so just identifying different ways to make this work, that's been the most difficult part. Just the fact that I have a dog, and it's just making it more difficult. It increases costs and things of that nature. So I said, don't be surprised if Jonah pop up with sponsorships and stuff too, because he got to pay rent. Okay. Because he has to pay rent. But and so that's the biggest things of what I'm navigating now. Of course, I got to do background things, getting it all in order, but I see this as an opportunity for me to just start over. You know, this is a long time coming. And if I can afford to pay my bills and my life now, why not take that and go somewhere where, I could potentially be saving some money? Because it's, although I make money to be able to pay for everything now and stuff, I'm not able to save as much as I would like to, right? And so, baby, them student loans can't pay themselves, okay? The student loans can't pay themselves. So we just adjust. And if I can adjust and go somewhere where life is more cost efficient, and then also I can explore and enjoy my life, hell, that's where I'm gonna be at. That's where I'm going to be at. I'm not about to sit here and allow myself to be in a space where I don't really want to be, you know? So if this is something that you have been thinking about or you want to follow along on the journey as I share, um, I do move within the next couple months, so I've just been in the process of preparation. I do want to do videos of preparation because, like I said, people have been asking me if I was going to be vlogging and things of that nature. And until I can get comfortable with like the editing, this may be more of like the conversational things that I do until I'm able to get editing or hire an editor to be able to do that for me. But all in all, I really feel like this opportunity is going to shift my life in so many different ways. And I'm excited just to see where it takes me. You know, life is short. Anything can happen. Anything can happen to me here where I'm at now, and I can't live life based off of what may happen or what issues or what problems. There's crime here. There's crime here. And I'm ready for a slower pace of life. I'm ready to slow down. I'm ready to slow down. My whole life has been trauma, healing trauma, doing this, depending on this. And it's just like, I deserve this peace, even if it's only for a year. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm an Aries. Wherever it takes me is where it takes me. But the big piece is just making sure that I'm open to the journey. And that's where I'm at. I'll be a lie if I said that I wasn't afraid. The thing is, the people who you see as being courageous or fearless, things of that nature, no, they do it through the fear. We do it through the fear. I've been emotional through the grieving process ever since I've been in the prepping process. It's been emotional. Looking at what I'm going to do with everything. Am I just going to give it all away to shelters, and which I think I may do, or even with my plants and things of that nature that I've been raising up and nurturing? Like, I'm giving up everything and starting over. But sometimes that is literally exactly what we need to be on the path that we desire to be on the most. And so I'm excited for this journey and this path. And if you would like to be on this journey with me, I'm going to be sharing the details of my travels and stuff on this channel. Um, and feel free to check out my blog down below if you would like to become, well, I would say subscribe to the Baggage Claim Crew, which is my newsletter, because I send emails and things of that nature out to the email list, and some things will only be sent to the email list and not anyone else. So definitely check that out. I have a lot of blogs that's on there already, so there's a lot of content on there for you to be able to read. And then I'll also be posting on Substack as well, of just doing more internalization and reflection of the trip and the travels and what that, looks like. And so I'm excited. I'm nervous. But yeah, I think in the next video, I'm going to do like the financials breakdown and what the costing of things are looking like and what the budget, because what I do plan on doing once I move is doing a monthly budget report so that everyone sees like what the budget was, what I spent, what housing was, and things of that nature, so that you can get a realistic idea um, of the lifestyle and the various forms of lifestyle. So I thank you all for being here. Definitely check out the link down below. And that's it. That's all, y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in with me, Moni. Okay. Moni in the middle. Where's she at? In the middle. Moni in the middle. Where she at? In the middle, 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 middle. That's going to be in the theme song for this channel. But I thank y'all for being here. If you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe. If this is not something that you want to keep following along, I understand if you have to leave. Thank you for being here for the time that you were here. But I'm ready to go on this journey with you all. We about to see what it's like starting over, and the next video is going to be into finances, and I'm going to be very real, open, and vulnerable with you all, just on my journey, my process, where I'm at, and all that jazz. So I love you all, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.